Welcome everyone to the BSB Bookathon Winter Edition. And actually in the South, even though I'm in the South, it is the winter. It's cold outside. We're excited to have you join us for these sessions. I'm joined today by Miss Julie. We're going to do a little chat. So, hey, Miss Julie, how are you?
I'm doing well, Allie. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Like I said, it's cold, but the Saints are winning. So, yay, Saints.
Well, my Cardinals are out of it. We thought we had a chance, but no, not
we lost to Chicago earlier this year, so I'm excited. But yeah, so what's been happening?
You know, it's kind of a lot of the same anymore. Really can't wait till we, get some shots in our arms and be able to get out and about a little bit more. Just spending a lot of time right here in this little 12 by 15 foot square area, which is my at-home office. I've been here since probably March 15th. Like a lot of people. However, I'm very, very lucky that I'm able to work from home versus those people that can't.
Right.
So, a little bit of that, going back and forth to Louisiana, my second home, working a lot, writing books, doing anything that Sandy tells me to do, and just basic kind of stuff like that. How about you?
You're small but fierce. You got to do what Sandy tells you.
Yes.
No, it's been an experience, actually. I agree with you. I never realized, I said this about 2 months in. It's like, who knew my hobbies were like going out to eat, meeting friends, and touching my face. One of those things where it's like, good golly, what the hell is going on?
I know. We're the same thing. We don't do, Laura and my wife, Laura and I don't do a whole lot, but we do go out to eat a lot. And oh my God, we had to I shouldn't say we, because Laura's from Louisiana, so she's the cook. I'm the one in the kitchen that cleans up and follows instructions. So, everyone has their place, and I know what mine is. Mm-hmm.
That's why I figured out that there are still very nice people in the world, because starting in February, I actually started doing all the grocery shopping. So I don my mask and go out into the store, and then that way I can curse silently under my mask, because there are so many stupid people in the world. And I learned that, for about a month in, I realized I don't know where anything is in the grocery store. So that was, but there are some very nice young ladies out there that will be more than willing to help you out while you're in the store. So I've done that. I bought toilet paper. Who knew that would be such a big commodity? But yes, what's been your favorite thing that you've done while you've been in quarantine?
Spend time in Louisiana. We
take out, by the way.
Yeah, we live here in Phoenix, but we have a house in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And we just the ability to actually be there working absolutely guilt-free, because my boss said, I don't care where anybody works. I don't care where you work. So okay, so we packed up and, went there. I think this probably was my most favorite thing, because it is so different from Phoenix, the geography and the trees, the green. Phoenix is brown and dry heat. Louisiana is miserable heat because it's so humid. But just being able to spend weeks and weeks and weeks there doing things. So, a lot of people did remodeling and things like that in their houses, and we did the same thing. We started to do some of that at our house there, and so it just gave us the opportunity to do that. So that's probably the thing that I enjoyed the most, was just being able to spend time there. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I love working my yard, and but I've never really grown anything. Well, I do. I take that back. I have two Meyer lemon trees, and I have a fig tree, which is the reason I bought my house. A big old fig tree in my backyard. I love figs. So when I saw it, it's like, this is the place. But this year, I actually built an above ground, one of those. I went to the feed store and bought myself one of those above ground gardens. So I grew tomatoes, and which I really don't like tomatoes, but I grew those. And I grew bell peppers and okra and watermelon. So I became a gardener, and which made me appreciate the grocery all that much more. It was the best way in the world to spend like $200 for like about $5 worth of produce. But it was fun to watch the stuff grow. We, planted about like 5 different kinds of. It made me think of Aurora Ray. She's always planting like hundreds of plants in her yard, and she pickles stuff and all this other kind of thing. But no, we did that, and I got to read a lot. I've binge watched. I now have like Hulu and Disney and Netflix and Prime. So we watched a bunch of different things. Some of them, it was kind of interesting. I think we just finished watching that. I'm trying to think of how to pronounce it. It's Bridgerton, the one that's on.
Oh, Bridgerton. I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it started kind of like as a Renaissance thing, and then it kind of turned into some kind of soft porn kind of thing. I was like, what is happening? Like, so, but in the other thing too is I think I ended up finishing like 3 books. I mean, some that are finished, some that are in editing, some that are almost finished editing, one that I'm working on currently. So I got to write a lot and stay away from people, and then just watch the reality show that has become America on TV. I was actually out riding my lawnmower the other day, picking up leaves in my yard, and Karen was like, "Come see!" Wow.
And you're like, I'm not believing what I'm
Exactly.
seeing. I do a lot of writing too, because we drive back and forth to Lake Charles, and it's 20 hours. So it's 2 10-hour days. And Laura's the driver. I'm not. Because she's a terrible, terrible passenger. So I don't even try. So I got a lot of writing done in our trips back and forth, because there's nothing else to do for 20 hours on the road. Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been difficult for our elderly neighbors, and the kids that are kind of stuck in school and stuck out of school and not knowing what to do. So everybody at work. In the beginning, I thought, I don't want to work from home forever. I like people. I like
Exactly.
folks. Now, after doing it for almost a year, I don't necessarily think I want to go back into the office, and I don't think we will. So, like I said, luckily I have the kind of job that I can do it from anywhere. I don't need to necessarily be in an office.
Yeah, what I've done with my staff is we come in every other day. So I split the staff in 2, and the office is spread out enough that we're not on top of each other, but still just to come to keep everybody safe. We work every other day. But it's been kind of interesting. I've taken a lot of day trips in Louisiana that I've, like things you've been meaning to see, but you've never actually seen. We actually we went through Lake Charles. That's why I was asking you, because I was on my way to Austin. We went to I think it's called. It's that flea market antique thing that goes on for like, I don't know, like 30 miles, I guess. So it was, because it wasn't as crowded. I mean, we only do stuff outside, so that was nice. So I have my bucket list that I've been working on as far as trips and things I'd like to see before I die. But this year was we didn't get to do any of that. So it's, like I said, I am interested in starting to go out. As far as, I mean, we'll go out. We actually went to the zoo in New Orleans. So if you're in Lake Charles and driving to New Orleans, really, it was actually very nice. I haven't been to the I think my nephew, he's now 34, and I think the last time I went, he was 3. So it's been a while since I've done that, but it was outside and it was nice. I mean, the weather's been beautiful until today, but so what book do you have out right now or getting ready to come out or?
Right now I have out, oh, wait a minute. It's hard with this background. Wait a minute. Oh, there. The Last First Kiss.
All right.
And it came out this week or this month. Actually, it comes out I think tomorrow on the 12th, I think. So that's the last one. That is book number 20, and I'm editing book the next book. That'll be out in June, and it is called Summer Loving. So it's and then I got Sandy roped me into a short story that needs to come out pretty soon, or needs to be done pretty soon. Well, in June. So you know how Sandy kind of wrangles you into, you'd be perfect for writing this anthology, and so I'm doing that about a secret crush that's revealed on Valentine's Day. It'll be out in Valentine's Day next year.
Yeah.
Short you just had number 7. What's that?
As if she usually doesn't let me write those little short stories because she said I'm too wordy, too wordy. No, actually I have
2 words.
I don't have the book yet, but I have it on. It is the 7th in the Devil book, in the Devil series. I mean, it's the Devil Incarnate. It actually comes out on February the 1st. And for everyone who has written me over and over again, this one will be on Audible. So she's working on that right now. And then I think as she has time, she's going to go ahead and go back and do the backlogs, because I think that the first 2 were on Audible, and then they, the rest weren't. So that was kind of exciting. But yeah, no, I have that one, and then I want to say it's in April or May. I have A Woman to Treasure, which I love a good treasure hunt. So this is I got to, every once in a while I get to blend a bunch of stuff in a book that I find interesting myself, besides murder. True crime murder. So this would be more treasure hunt. This is my more, instead of IDTV, it's more a History Channel kind of thing. But it's a treasure hunt, and it involves the Templars and some kind of other aspects in there. So the church, the Knights Templar. I love the Curse of Oak Island. They never find anything, but I mean, they're starting to find things, but hopefully eventually they'll find the treasure. But I'm watching that every Tuesday. That and Mountain Man, I figured I would have to learn that so that when the Civil War starts, I'll know how to survive.
You is, so the Kane series, how do you keep it all straight? Do you have like this giant whiteboard in your room that you've got all of the plot lines or whatever? Is it on some giant spreadsheet? Is it up here? How do you keep all that straight?
Well, I was just talking about it in the last panel, and I said, I like to call it my character key, or a lot of people call it a character Bible. But it kind of keeps me straight on what they look like, about how old they are, that kind of thing. So characteristics, names, any nicknames they might have. And then, so to go from there, so when I started the Kane series, it was about on a page, I guess. And then now it's about 6 pages, and it's in 10-point font. But I do have a big, now it's broken into characters that are still viable and characters who are dead. But every once in a while you have to go back and mention them. So it's a good way to, and then in there too, I have like some key plot lines, because every once in a while, I mean, I love when people tell me, oh, there's a new book coming out, so I'm going to reread the whole series. And I actually do that too, because I want to make sure that I haven't missed anything along the line. But it's the best way. It was kind of entertaining because I just switched editors probably about a year ago, I guess. And so this was our first Devil book together. as far as she was concerned. And then she said, oh, well, could you send me the character key before we begin? And I sent it to her, and she's like, oh my God.
Oh,
Yeah, she's not real into a lot of points of view, and it was like, oh, we're in for a surprise. That's how you feel. This is not going to go well at all. Not at all. So it's no, I love writing that character. And when I started, I had sent I sent the Carly sound first, and then so she called me and said, they were going to go ahead and sign me. And she said, but that one needed a lot of editing. She said, do you have anything else? And I had actually written that story more for myself than there was nothing like it, I thought, in the genre of, lesbian romance intrigue anyway. And then so I wrote it, and then, but what I wrote was actually book 1 and 2 together. And then so Rad refused to write 800-page book, which I don't understand that. But so we cut those two. And I actually thought that was the end of that. And Carolyn told me, she's like, nobody's going to read that because, it's so violent. And then so we're in book 7. It's actually book 8 because I did get to write the prequel. And it's one of those things where it just went from there, and it's become something that people still enjoy. So I guess I'll keep writing them as long as people want to read them. So, because I do love Kane, I really do.
well, it's pretty obvious that everybody does. And she's the bad guy you love because she has scruples, if bad guys have scruples. And, she goes after the right people for the right reasons. And if they're not the right reasons, then she leaves them alone. So, I suppose as you've read through your character Bible, you've seen how she's developed over the course of time too. In the beginning she was like this, and now it's all about her own family versus her extended family.
No, in this one, and I think in this one you'll see a difference when sometimes it's not, like I said, I loved my first editor that I had, but every once in a while you want to look at something through fresh eyes. And with Victoria, we have talked a lot about you have great interactions between the characters, you have great characters, but not a lot of emotion. So it's become like a joke between us because it's like now she just writes emotion. So then I know I have to kind of start to think. So I think now you'll kind of see Kane in a different light. I mean, she's still going to kill a bunch of people.
Of course. Yeah.
But you'll also see more of the inner workings in her head. So it's not, I've always thought she's a little psychotic, but in this case, you'll see more, not a softer side, but a more understanding of who the character is. But like I said, she's always fun to write. It's a good way to blow off a little steam and kill some people in interesting ways. So yeah. Somebody just asked, what about titles? How do you come up with your titles? Is it in the beginning of writing or later on? So how do you come up with your title?
Sometimes it's a little of both. I think most of mine have been a title and then, okay, so now what do I write about that? Like this last book, The Last First Kiss, I thought, that'd make a great book. Now, what does that mean? And what do I do with it? And so most of mine have been the title first. There was one or two that I had no idea what I was going to call it until I got to the very end. It's just like, I have no idea what this book is, what this title is. So it's kind of, and sometimes if you don't know what the title is, one of the what the title is, then I'm writing away, and then my character said something, and it's like, that's the title of the book right there. Just whatever she said. Actually, if you want me, then you'll have to come and get me. It's like, that's it. The name of the book is Come and Get Me. It just came out that way. So I know it's kind of sometimes it's a mixture. There was one time that I pitched a book to Rad, and she said, love the title, do not like the story. Okay. So now I have to come up with a completely different story that I already had worked through in my head to go with this title that she loved, but she didn't like the story. Oh, okay. So how about you? It's kind of the same thing, or?
Actually, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I absolutely suck at titles. I really do. So for the Devil series, actually, I think Rad for the first probably 4 books came up with the titles, and then Calling the Dead, same thing. Now Sandy has taken over that job. So I'll tell her a little bit about
See a pattern here.
Yeah. So I think the one that I've come up with in the last, I don't know, 20 books is The Inheritance. That one I did come up. I came up with that one on my own, but for the most part, she'll send me like 2 or 3 to pick from. And then if I don't like any of those, then we go back to the drawing board. But I love writing the stories. I really don't. I suck at the title part of it. So
you have to decide that sometimes long before you even write the story, because
now it's just a matter of coming up with something, especially in the Devil series, just coming up with something that's Devil in the title. Then it's the yeah. Because I mean, actually, I take that back. One Devil book that I did title was I was in North Louisiana, which has about like a Baptist church probably every mile, and they all own that big white sign arrow, that lights up at the top. And we were driving along, and it was like, oh wait, hold on a second. So I pulled over and backed up. And that's what they had on the thing. And it says to avoid the fruit of sin, stay out of the devil's orchard, I should say, orchard. So to avoid it was like the devil's orchard. Didn't that sound good? So I had to use the lines somewhere in the book so people kind of connect it. But it's I actually suck at that. So now y'all have learned something about me, is that I come up with the storylines and everything else, but the title is not all me. Sometimes it's somebody else. But somebody also asked, let's see, is there any particular reason for switching editors? It was just fresh eyes. And Julie, do you always use the same editor? Again, like I said, I had the same editor for probably the first 25 books, and just recently switched, but it was for that. I think it's just fresh eyes to look at something, a little bit of ways to, like, you learn a lot from someone, and I was very appreciative of my first editor because I did learn a lot. I have a talent that I learned something and then I can figure out something to completely screw up in the next book. So then I can learn something else.
Another one that does that, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a good fit because it's like I have Vic and I go through the book first, and then actually Ruth Sternglance, which everybody knows that Bold Strokes has been there from the very beginning. Ruth goes through it next. So actually now I just don't have one, I have 2 editors. So it's but have you had the same one at the beginning?
I've had Shelley probably the majority of the time. When I first started, I had somebody very different, and it was fabulous. It was Jennifer, and she was fabulous because it's all about learning the craft as well as telling the story. And so I had her for probably the first couple of books, maybe 2 or 3. And then I had somebody else for a book or 2, but it's been Shelley for the most part. And it works well. We kind of know each other. This last book I turned in, when I got it back, I did get it's a little more grammatically messy than some of your other works in the beginning. And it was a little grammatically messy, and but there was a lot of things going on in my life at the time, and I was lucky to get it done. So it's I think each editor has a certain specialty, possibly. You know, brand new writers, they take more time, and you know, maybe certain editors focus on more of the craft and other editors more on the grammatical stuff. I don't know how we assign editors, but I've had Shelley for probably 10 books, maybe more so than that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that actually who was my editor for, like I said, for about 25 books was Shelley. And I love Shelley to death. And she was just a wonderful teacher. And, you know, as far as craft, you know, to hone it, to point of views, you know, popping in and out of people's heads. Great teacher. I mean, she was a teacher for a very long time. So it's a good way to start. And then, like I said, now it's a different perspective, and it's interesting sometimes because since you know, everyone messes up every once in a while. So, but point of view is not something I mess up too much anymore. And, you know, strength of character, hopefully I have that down as well. But now it's become, and like I said, I've looked at some of the differences now between the very beginning of the books to now, and adding, like I said, we joke about it a lot, but adding emotion and bringing kind of more, instead of telling, showing, you know, what they're going through, I think makes for a deeper book, and it makes for a better read. I think it draws the reader in more than normal. But so it's been, like I said, it wasn't anything. It was just for a fresh perspective of something. And then Ruth is also wonderful when it comes to, you know, cleaning up the final product and before it goes out. So I think the books have grown in depth, and so I'm enjoying the new partnership that I have with my two new people in my life that I hear from a whole lot. So,
you know,
yeah,
we couldn't do what we do
no,
as well as people think we do it without them. You know, I've always heard all the time, and, you know, Rad has said it before, you know, authors write to get the story out, and editors are the ones that make it readable.
exactly.
And I think that's, and because everybody has their area of expertise, and I know what mine is not, and that's that evidenced by my grammatically messy manuscript, my last one. So it's because you know, a different set of eyes, a different viewpoint is always, you know, is always really good.
I mean, sometimes it's painful. I don't want to hear this, but if you learn to listen, it does. Yeah, because now, like I said, this year I was very happy to. I want to thank the Golden Crown. I won a Goldie. And I think like I said, it just, I wouldn't have done that on my own. I mean, it's the BSB team as a whole, and, you know, from helping me come up with the titles to the editing to the copy editing, it all, you know, it's not just us, it's a whole team, and we really appreciate them.
Right, absolutely.
Clark wants to know, she said, Allie, please tell us your favorite character and you have written and why. So I guess I can, to both of us, I would have to say, if I have a favorite, my favorite is going to be Kane. Kane Casey. I love to write Kane. I mean, I love all my characters, don't get me wrong, but I love Kane because Kane is not a rule follower. And she's fun to write because she's, I did a reading yesterday, and it was one of the lines, and it was, she has unique problem solving skills. So I love coming up with unique problem solving skills, which sometimes involve a pressure washer or a industrial meat grinder, but it will get rid of your problems. So who is your character?
I don't think I have a favorite one. All of mine are standalone. So I think they all are a little bit of what I'd like to be in some respects. I don't model any of my characters after anybody other than the perfect person, I suppose, with major flaws like we all have. I think maybe, you know, someone said earlier, you can't pick your favorite child, but your first is always your most special. So I would say probably Elliot out of my first book is my most special one. But I'm one of those people that as soon as I'm done writing it, I move on to the next one and I almost completely forget about the other ones. It's like, what was that book about again? And what were those characters' names? I have to compartmentalize to be able to move on. So I have to kind of go back and think, and what names have I used before, and that sort of thing. So I don't think I necessarily have a favorite one other than Elliot, my first one.
Yeah, that's my favorite character. Another favorite set of characters, I guess, and it was just a circumstance. Like I said, my parents died, been a while now, but I had just one sibling and he died actually this coming month. It'll be 3 years. And sometimes you have to figure out, I have all this angst that I don't know what to do with. So the inheritance, actually, I tried to make it funny. And then, in some of the parts, when we were in editing, it's like, well, let's change this. And it's like, no, because this is what happened. So it's as far as what happens to Jim Bob in the book, it's very true to what happened when, because sometimes when your parents get ill and you know what's coming, you can prepare. It doesn't make it any easier, but at least you can prepare yourself. This was out of the blue one night, you get that horrible phone call about 3 o'clock in the morning. So the inheritance was a good way to get all that out and kind of move on from that. And I have to thank Lori Prince did a wonderful job on that book as far as the Audible one. So that was my other, as far as storyline, that was one of my favorites. This it says, both of you are fantastic at capturing and instilling wonderful emotional responses from the readers, creating characters that we love. So how have you both perfected that art over time? So you want to take a stab at that one?
I think it's practice. I think it's my editor. It's the learning sessions and that Bold Strokes puts on for us authors. I still go attend Zoom webinars about how to write an interesting character. Okay, well, we've got over 50 books between us, Allie, but there's always something you can pick up on her. Oh yeah, that's right. Or it just brings things to the refresher. Also, reading other people's good work and how do they do that? And what is it that when I read this book, I just feel something? What is that? And how do they do that? And I would listen to a lot of books on tape driving back and forth to work. So I obviously stopped reading because we don't drive back and forth anymore, but I do on my walks. And I think, how did they phrase that? That's an interesting way to phrase it. I see why they talked about this ahead of that, or they put it after that. So just being cognizant about how good authors do it. It's a craft, and I think you just get better over time.
Definitely. No, I had mentioned that yesterday in the panel, on the reading that I was on yesterday. And, one of the things I've always, you try to make it fresh and make it different. You can only have sex so many ways. Well, maybe not. So many ways I would like to have sex. Let's put it that way. That you, I can't believe I just said that. But anyway, where you, and then I started listening to Audible. And when somebody goes to not so much the fade to black, but more the descriptive part of it. So it actually has changed my perspective as far as writing emotional scenes and writing sex, actually. Because, in my books, I have a lot of intrigue, I have a lot of killing, but there's also sex. I mean, it's a human kind of thing. So I think that it is, but it's listening to other people's stuff, kind of honing your craft, and then the editing, I think, is a huge, huge part of it. So I think that now that I'm closing in on a little over 30, I'm getting the hang of it. So, all right, Sally wants to know, would you prefer to write a really long book, 100,000 words plus, and pare it down, or do you stick with a set word count and hope that you get everything said within those parameters?
I could not do a really long book. I think I might go the other way. I say, okay, I'm going to write, well, the minimum we do is 60,000 words. And sometimes it's a struggle to get to 60,000 words. It's just not there. So you put it aside, you come back, you reread it, you start over, you add some things. You want to make sure that you don't add just simply for a word count, but that it actually does, move the story along. But I haven't been in a situation like you were with your first two King books, where it just kind of kept going and going and going and going. It has a couple of them, but not nearly like 100,000 word book. I would like die if I had to do something like that, I think. Just wouldn't, yeah.
No, I was laughing because I just had this problem. I was writing actually this Devil book, and I was at about I think it was at like 98,000 words, and I try never to go over 100,000, but it was like, I have a problem now because a whole lot more to say to finish this chapter of the series. And so I had to text Sandy and tell her, like, okay, how many words is too many words? She's like, you better wrap it up at 110. So, I think I got it to 109, and I got like everything I needed to get in this chapter to then be able to move it along. But so that's when Vic got it, she was like, oh my God. So I think it turned out we're at like maybe this one's a long one. So if you like Kane, you're gonna get plenty of it because it's a very, very long book. So I don't really set a parameter though. But I don't set a parameter of it's got to be like 70,000 or 80,000 or anything like that. I write until I'm done, and then knowing that in the editing process, we're probably going to pare it down just a little bit. And this one, actually, it was kind of surprising because I think I had pared, when I turned it in, I forget how many it had. And then instead of paring it down, we actually added some to it. So that was kind of interesting. I don't usually, that usually doesn't happen as far as that is. But you'll get your money's worth on this one if you're paying by the page.
I mean, you handwrite your first draft, right?
Oh.
So that probably limits how much you do each day, just because your hand just collapses after a while. Because lately I've been doing that, handwriting, and after a while you just like, I can't hold this pen anymore. So that that probably limits how much you can actually write each day.
You'd be surprised. I said, in my lunch hour, that's one of the reasons that I have the huge pen collection that I have, because I'm a weirdo when it comes to writing my hand. It has to be a certain kind of notebook. And when I first started, I started with like, I don't know, like a Bic maybe. But the fountain pen actually is a salvation when it comes to that. It glides over if you have a good one, it just glides over the page, and it does make it do that. And then now I've discovered that my MacBook Air, you could just talk to it and it types for you. So because that's one of the things I've done as far as before I turn it in. I mean, not that it doesn't look like a murder scene when it looks like all the red that comes back, but I was like, this one looks pretty good. And then you get it back, it's like, well, maybe not. my editing to do. But I actually read it out loud. Because if you read and read and read it over and over and over again, you figured out you've misspelled your name and you didn't even catch that. So I do read it out loud. And now, and it helps if you've written it out, then when you're, talking to the computer and it's typing for you, which it always comes up every once in a while. It's like, what did I say? I didn't say that. It's like, what in the hell have you typed? Because I did not say that. But yeah, no, it's been something that I've started, and it's not yeah, I'm gonna switch my computer around. You can see hopefully see all my pens on my desk here. There's plenty. So it's yeah, this was actually the one that's up here. All y'all know Trinity Tam. She's Nell Stark's wife. It's a beautiful pen in the mail. I really loved it. So thank you for that.
I started writing on my iPad, with the pencil, and that goes real smooth as well. And the same thing, I take it and then I dictate it into my computer because I've got, the arthritis in my hands, and I'm typing and I'm like in this same position all day at work. I gotta do something different. So I'll handwrite it and then dictate it in there, but it's, it's hard. It kind of, I try to do it just right off the cuff, but I can't, because you're like, beginning quote, and then she said, comma, are you out of your mind? Exclamation point, end quote, new line. I can't do that. I can do it when I'm reading it,
Yeah.
but I can't like that. That's a trained, that kind of dictation is a trained thing that I don't want to be trained to do.
No, it's taking a little time, and it's still like every once in a while she actually writes out quote. It's like, no, I mentioned you to put a quote.
Quote,
yeah.
Quote, yeah.
And she always writes clip, which I'll let you guess what that is.
Yeah, mine is too. No, that's not what
I didn't mean clip at all. But, yeah, no, somebody says, how do you keep track of the word count if you're writing it out via fancy pen and paper? You can't really. I figured out that I was laughing because I think it's when we went to Vegas. I was at the airport and I forgot what I was writing back then, but I was, even though I was going to the GCLS in Vegas, I was still up against a deadline. So I was working, and I have really small handwriting. And this lady was sitting, I was sitting before we got on the plane, and this lady was looking at me, and she kept, like trying to come up and see what, and she said, I think there's some psychological things about people who write that small. It's like what? She said, well, I can't think right offhand, but okay. But it's like, it takes a lot of energy to write real big. Because I write small, and the notebook that I use has, I guess, college ruled lines. I could write about 500 words per page. So I do kind of keep abreast of what it is. Sometimes it's a little bit over 500, and sometimes it's a little less, but it averages out to about 500 pages per. But as you start to read it off the page to put it into the computer, it is one of those things where you can also add it as you go along. So sometimes when you read it out loud, it doesn't actually make any sense. Not that I make sense all the time, but it's but yeah, no. So now, as far as when you are writing something, I think sometimes when I write on the page, I'm really not thinking about it. I'm like into the story. I kind of go into like a trance, I guess. I can't do that when I'm typing. I have done it. I mean, I try to type every once in a while, but not, I'm just not good at it. So have you found that your writing style's changed any by writing it? No.
Um, I don't think my writing style has changed. It's but it gives me the opportunity to, while I'm thinking about something, I can like I can jot a note in different color in the column or something, or oh, go back here, or circle this because I mentioned in the page 4 she took her reading glasses off. Okay, well I circle that because I want to make sure I reference that somewhere further along the line, somewhere. So it's just I think it's been more of a I've had to change how I do it, just because my hands just kill me I just can't, I just can't do that at the end of the day, which is something awful for an author unless you can dictate it too. Mm-hmm.
No, I have to say, I have to admire Rad
For a
actually
while I used
in different things where she actually dictates it without writing anything. She'll dictate, I don't know how many words a day, but that's how she's been writing. As Sandy just said, sometimes when Rad leaves a message on a voicemail, she will also unconsciously dictate the punctuation. Just kind of funny.
well, you said that's her doctor training, as she's dictated into charts and things like that. That's her physician training. Yeah.
No, like I said, when I did it, and a lot of people don't believe me, I have a pile of notebooks to prove it. And maybe I'll sell them on eBay one day. But yeah, no, it's not. And it saves you every once in a while, because I remember actually GCLS was in New Orleans. I'm trying to think of when that was, but they came to New Orleans and I was writing Beneath the Waves, which I'm actually writing the sequel to that right now, but that's the work I have in progress.
Mm-hmm.
And I bumped my computer and the jump drive fell out of it. And when that happened, it crashed. So when I plugged it back in, it didn't make that noise. And I thought, oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And I was probably about 3/4 done. And had I not written it in longhand, I would have really been, it took me like a ton of time to retype it, but at least I had it. And I was pretty proud of myself, because I think I actually turned it in with like I was only like 2 or 3 days late, but I was able to do that. But it was one of you want to sit down and cry moments. But
you don't know whether you want to cry or throw up. It's like what?
Back.
Yeah. So it's either on drive or that. Long before iCloud, I email it myself. I'm done for the day. I send myself an email. So if something crashes on my computer, at least I can pull it out of my email. But yeah, save early, save often is the author's mantra.
Yeah, lesson learned.
Yeah.
That's when I got like eye drops.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that was horrible. It was not, because you could send the jump drive into somebody and they'll fix it for like $5,000.
That's right.
Get this back for you, no problem. So, all right. Does anybody else have any questions? If not, we have a couple of different things. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, what drink has gotten you through the pandemic? Now that you have to do your own bartending.
I would have to say the Hawaiian tea at Dutch Bros. My daughter, Dutch Bros is really big here in the West, at least in Arizona, and they don't have it in Louisiana. I'm positive about that, or at least in Lake Charles. And she's got me hooked on, she goes to Dutch Bros all the time, and it's the Hawaiian iced tea, which is really sweet, and it's pink, and it is absolutely delicious. I'm not a big drinker. However, when we were cleaning up after the 2 hurricanes that hit us, a lot of beer.
Oh, good.
A whole lot of beer was done.
Because
you have to stay hydrated, and so stay hydrated. Yeah.
Good reason for it. Yeah.
Are you the martini girl or?
Yeah. No, mine is the old
What's
fashioned.
that, Alex?
I like
the old fashioned. Okay.
So, And that is the last question we have time for. So thank y'all everyone for joining us. I hope y'all had fun. There's a reading right after this, so make sure to back up all those computers if you're writing something. And thank y'all so much for joining us. Thank you. I'll see y'all later. All right.
Sally, take care.
So have a wonderful evening. Go Saints.